Okay, folks, here we are. Another sunny day in Southern California, folks, and we're inside the Agenda 21 kill grid known as Orange County, where what we eat, what we drink, what we think, what we breathe, what lights we're allowed to have are all controlled. Where we go and how we go and when we go is controlled. I want to talk to you about something that was brought to my attention recently by a colleague of mine. She became ill with this weaponized flu that had been released a couple of weeks ago. Fortunately, she didn't get that sick. But what did happen to her is she developed a fever and what appeared to be an upper respiratory infection, which is common. And whether that was directly related to the weaponized flu or a byproduct of it in combination with maybe some poor air quality in her home and work environment could have been the culprit. But nevertheless, she did what everybody does and what everybody's trained to do, and that is to go to a doctor. And let me tell you something, folks. The doctor's the last place you want to go when you're sick. Now, don't get me wrong. If you have a broken arm or if you end up in a traumatic car accident and you're losing blood, you need to go seek medical help because they do serve a purpose. But when it comes to illness, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not talking about traumatic injury. I'm talking about illness. Illnesses such as fevers and coughs and sore throats and even heart problems and diabetes and other things along those lines, folks. You do not seek the attention of a doctor for simple things that you could cure with simple common sense. But see, most people have been robbed of their common sense, folks, because what they've been turned into are sheep. And we all know sheep in most countries are only raised for shearing and slaughter. So anyway, this person went to a doctor, and the symptoms that she had were no longer a fever. What she had was a persistent cough. And because she had some asthma as a child, and it kind of comes and goes as an adult, she did have a little bit of wheezing. So what ended up happening was she was told to take cough medicine for her cough, antibiotics for a respiratory infection. She was given an inhaler of albuterol for her asthma, and she was given oral and inhaler steroids. Now, I want to talk to you about just how dangerous and stupid doctors are. And when I say stupid, doctors are very stupid people. I don't care what their IQ is, and I don't care what they've been told and taught how to memorize. Doctors are stupid because they lack common sense. You see, the human body was created by God. And if you don't believe that, then go ahead and click off on this video because the rest of it isn't going to make any sense to you because you don't have any common sense either. The human body, if you didn't know, has 75,000 miles of circulatory system in it. That's enough to go around the circumference of the earth at least 3 times. Now, the human body is a very intricate and delicate machine, but it also has many self-regulating capabilities. It has an immune system, and a rather incredible immune system, and it has many components. Now, what do doctors do with the immune system? Well, they don't deal with the immune system, ladies and gentlemen. They have some barbaric methods that involve petrochemical, pharmacological poisoning agents that are patented by the petrochemical poisoning pharmaceutical allopathic medicine companies to solve all of the ills that you may present upon your visit. So you have somebody who's ostensibly diagnosed with bronchitis and is exhibiting asthma symptoms, and the first thing they give this person is a cough suppressant. You know, dextromethorphan hydrobromide or one of those other chemicals that keeps your body from coughing. Now, your body's coughing because, you know what, it's trying to get crap out of your lungs. And there's 2 ways to get crap out of your lungs. You can stick your hand down your throat and scoop it out with a spoon, and that's not going to work, folks. So your body has an amazing mechanism, and it's called an expectorant mechanism, to where the elasticity of your lungs combined with the coughing action, will expel the junk that's stuck to the little hairs in your lungs called cilia. But what does a doctor do? Works against your body's natural reaction to remove the invader or the substance that's causing you the inflammation. That's brilliant, isn't it, folks? Working against your own body. Well, you know, the doctors also do another thing when you have symptoms of bronchitis. They give you what's called antibiotics, which basically are a strain of microbes that are given orally, and you swallow them, and then it gets into your bloodstream, and the desired effect is it kills off the supposed strain that's infecting you. Now, did you know that when you were born, since you started sucking on your mother's breast, assuming you were breastfed, you started developing your own natural antibiotics in your intestines? It's called your intestinal flora. And those grow and evolve and change over time. So what do the doctors do when you supposedly present symptoms of an infection? They give you a drug called an antibiotic, which is foreign to all of your intestinal flora, which comprise about 70% of your immune system, and it kills them off. So it goes in there and just kills all the germs. That's like going around a glass house with a hammer to kill a fly, folks. That's what the doctors do with antibiotics. So it wipes out your immune system, kills all the good bacteria and the bad bacteria. Now, if you have an infection, your intestinal flora produces waste products that are toxic to the invaders. So why not let that colony of intestinal flora that you've had throughout your whole life just be by themselves and do their thing and let your immune system run its course? Because that's exactly what your body will do if it's left to itself. Now, so we've gone through how they inhibit your cough and kill off your intestinal flora. Well, they go a step further, because this particular person happened to have some asthmatic symptoms, and I have a child who had asthma, and I know how to deal with asthma. I've dealt with it, and I've dealt with it without medication, and I've had really severe attacks with my son, and he's 18 years old. He hasn't taken asthma medication for 17 years. He only took it once, and that was the end of it. But they give you asthma medication, which is albuterol. And what does albuterol do? Well, it supposedly opens up your airways, and I know it does, because I see how it works. It also elevates your heart rate, and it also turns the cilia in your lungs, and the elasticity of your lungs, into like an epoxy resin. So what that stuff does is when your body's trying to get crap out of the lungs, and the reason your body's closing off is a reaction to the invaders and the irritants in your lungs. In some people, their immune system just happens to be a little overactive and constricts the airways. But your body will naturally relax those if you just remain calm. And if you learn how to do breathing exercises through your nose and not through your mouth. But the doctor told this person to use a humidifier as well as take the antibiotics, as well as take the cough suppressant. And let me tell you something, folks. When you're having asthma, humidity is the worst thing you can present to your environment. Because when you're trying to grasp for air, the last thing you need is having water vapor competing with the oxygen for the oxygen transfer in your lungs. But that's exactly what the doctors prescribed. Use a humidifier. So here's a person struggling to get over a cough with asthma, who's now on antibiotics, who is now on a cough suppressant, who's now running a humidifier 24/7 with the window closed, according to doctor's instructions. And we all know how hard it is to breathe when the humidity is really high and you're working out or you're running. You know how tough that is. So there's more bad advice from a dangerous doctor. Now, so how is your body supposed to excrete compounds in your lungs, whether they be infectious or allergenic materials? If you have a cough suppressant that stops you from coughing and getting it out, if you're taking a compound called albuterol, which basically turns your lungs into epoxy, so it seals in all the junk that's stuck in there. And then you've got infection running through your blood, and your whole body's immune system is being wiped out by the antibiotics. Well, folks, let's not forget about the last thing this doctor prescribed this person. This dangerous, stupid doctor, who's actually a threat to this person's health. They prescribed her steroids. Yes, steroids, folks. Prednisone. You know prednisone, the stuff you take, and if you don't stagger your dose down when you get off it can cause aseptic necrosis and all kinds of bone loss and all kinds of weird health problems. I know people who have had their hips dissolved and have all kinds of problems with their vertebrae and their neck and their lower back because of steroid use prescribed for allergies and asthma. Now, steroids stop the immune system from acting. They also stop the immune system from overreacting. They also do something to your body that's unheard of, and that is to make you totally susceptible to infection, even when under normal circumstances, an infection that you would have been exposed to would not present any symptoms because of the intact functioning ability of your immune system. But what does the steroids do? Shuts your immune system down. So now we got somebody who was sick with bronchitis, supposedly, who supposedly has an infection, who was given a cough suppressant so they can't cough out the crap that they have inside their lungs, which happens to be your body's own mechanism to secrete mucus, to moisten and carry out the infectious material that's lodged in your lungs. So they stop that process with a cough suppressant. Now, they have given this person bad advice when they have asthma to use a humidifier, when in fact they should be in air conditioning climate, which is dry and no humidity. That's the best thing for asthma. And then they give the person antibiotics when they have an infection, which wipes out their intestinal flora, kills off their friendly bacteria, which is supposed to do most of the work. Now, what else do? They give the person steroids to shut their immune system off. Ladies and gentlemen, how are you supposed to get better when you manipulate every single thing in your body to work against itself? Is this what you want your child to become when they grow up? To become one of these monsters? To dispense this horrible advice? To tell people to do the exact opposite of what they're supposed to do? Look, I'm only going to talk about this one instance right now because I think this one instance is pretty common. Most of you, if you've gotten sick or you've had a respiratory infection, if you want to heal yourself, you need to exercise and clean out your lungs. The only way to get that stuff out of you is to have fresh air go in and out of your lungs and blow across those cilia in your lungs and clean them out, and drink lots of water and get plenty of rest. If you're tired, you need to go to sleep. You don't need to be taking stuff to knock you out, and take stuff to wake you up, and drink a bunch of coffee, which dehydrates you, and go to work. You need to stay home and sleep. You need to eat fresh fruits and vegetables. You need to eat the food God made you to eat. But the problem is, like this perversion shop here, this perversion shop, that's what doctors are. They're a perversion shop of horrors, folks. Did you know that the Bible prohibits pharmakia? It's a forbidden practice in the Bible. And do you want to know what the word for pharmacy comes from? Pharmakia. Have you seen Walgreens? It's got the sorcerer's cup on it, folks. There's a reason it's a forbidden practice. Because it's nothing but a bunch of hogwash. Like I said, if you end up in a car accident and you're hemorrhaging or you got a broken bone, you need to go seek medical attention. There's a time and place for medical attention, folks. But you got to open your eyes and you've got to think for yourself, and you got to realize that your body is capable of healing and regenerating, but you can't treat it like an automobile, folks, because an automobile is a machine that was put together by people. Our bodies are a perfect machine put together by God. And one thing about your car, if it breaks down, it can't fix itself, but your body can, and it's time you realize that, and you have faith in the one that put it together, and you have faith in the body that God has given you. And stop worshiping these false gods and these white coats that have collectively come together and lobbied the legislature, and they're agents of the pharmaceutical industry. Their bosses want to force vaccinate all of you with cancer viruses, sterilants, and toxic nano compounds. Instead of giving you medical freedom and the choice to be healthy and the choice to be free, they dispense disinformation and dangerous information, folks. And you need to stay away from these doctors. And you need to tell your parents to stay away from these doctors, because there's a good chance they're already killing your parents with all of the drugs that they've got your parents on. This is Joe Imbriano, folks, and I just want you to know that there are two ways to look at a situation. with eyes wide open and eyes wide shut. My goal is to keep yours open as wide as possible. Thank you.